That's everybody.
Oh, he brought everybody in. I was waiting on my intro.
Right.
Like I got a new light and everything. I was like the glow, like aside from my natural glow, I had an artificial glow that I was waiting on to be brought in.
With the glow? Bruce Leroy?
You always
Not that
trying
glow.
to be special. Always trying to feel special.
Not that glow. But Timok was in Clubhouse the other day. I was in a room and Timok was in there. They were talking to him about the Last Dragon. Interesting story.
You got
the Timok. Who's that?
The Last Dragon, the guy who starred in The Last Dragon.
The good-looking dude or the dude with the long hair?
No, the good-looking dude. Bruce Leroy was the long hair dude.
Wow.
That was his name, Timok?
Yeah, that's his real name, Timok. Oh, no, he played Bruce Leroy, yeah. Shonuff was the guy with the long hair. Shonuff, Shogun of Harlem.
Shogun.
Which, if they ever do a remake, Deion Cole dressed up like him for Halloween.
Deion Cole's Halloween.
Oh, my God, yes. Yes.
Dude, he looked so much like that dude. It was like, okay, we know who's going to do the remake.
Yep. Deion Cole, if you're listening, come join the cave. That was our Deion Cole plug.
I send him an invitation almost every week, and he gives me the Heisman, I guess.
Does he?
Pretty much every week, yeah. I don't take it personally. How y'all doing, man?
Awesome. Doing great. Doing sensational. Saturday night. Yeah. Only way you do it.
Yeah, I know my lighting probably looks a little weird. I'm in sunny Sacramento. My first time.
Don't nobody care about your fun in the sun, Otis.
Yeah, don't hate. It don't look good on you. Don't hate.
He's rubbing it in, too. He's rubbing it in.
He is, you know.
Sunny. He mentioned the sunny part first.
It was sunny
today. Yeah, you know what? I mentioned the sunny part because it is not as warm as you would think.
Oh, no. Northern California gets chilly.
Yeah.
Especially in the shade and when it's windy. Yeah. I mean, I had on a jacket outside in the back, and I kept coming in to get warm.
Yeah. So, the only thing that I'm jealous of is you're an hour away from wine country. So I'm very jealous about that.
All I want to know is how far I am away from bourbon country.
About 3,000 miles.
Yeah, I think
I'm in the other direction from Kentucky, right? I'm in the other
direction. Kentucky's a long way away. Sorry.
Yeah.
Everybody doing good, man?
Yeah, you
are good.
Yeah, man. I'm grateful, man. Despite the COVID, I'm visiting my twin, who's a buddy of mine, who we grew up together, and we just look so much alike that people used to mistake us for each other, and so we grew up calling each other twin. And I decided, you know, man, I was ready to risk traveling and thought, you know, who do I want to see? And his youngest son is my godson. And I said, let me get on a plane, man, and come and see them. And when I had my technical difficulties, his wife ran in here and hooked me up and put me on a different computer, you know. So it's good to one, be loved, and two, have some people that care enough about you that they open their homes up to you. You know, in a time like this, man. So, and, you know, they put a little stuff on the grill and did a little social distance, you know, cookout for me. And so that's why I asked about the residual noise, because there's still people downstairs, man. So it's just cool that they thought enough of me, man, to do that. So glad everybody's watching. If you are watching us, not necessarily for the first time, but if you're watching us at all, do us a favor and share us to your social media. Share us to your Facebook page, Instagram page, whatever. We're always trying to increase our viewership. And yeah, man, I'm excited. Pierre, glad to have you. You said you heard me say something about Sacramento last week, huh?
Yeah. I listened to the show a bit. So you guys this is a privilege to be here. So I'm happy to be here.
Hey man, it's a humbling thing, man, to have anybody checking us out. I found out down here that some people are watching us that I didn't realize. You know, one of the friends that came by to see me for the cookout, he's talking about the episodes, you know, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even know you were watching, you know. So that's super cool, man. And with that said, Pierre, we're gonna have you introduce yourself, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to find out about the show, how you came. My buddy's wife I was just talking about just kicked in the door. It's her house. Look.
Hey, what's up?
Right. Well, you can't kick her out.
I'm on my TV show. Oh, yeah. You can say hello. You can say hello real quick. Say hello. This is Kim. That's CEO.
Hey.
Hey.
Sophia. Sophia. Pierre, tell us, man, a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you came to be on the show, all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, name's Pierre, obviously. I'm friends with Glenn. I met Glenn through Julie Holloway some years ago, I think, if I remember correctly. At that time, I did a book called The Entrepreneur Within, and I'm a co-contributor to Faith, Failure, and Success. That's our recent book that we've done together. And also Mel's up in there, so I got to give the shout out. And I do analytics for small and medium-sized businesses. My business is called Zamana Analytics. I've worked with businesses now for almost 12 years. I'm a Gary, Indiana native. And I was originally an engineer at Ford Motor Company for 8 years. Did my MBA, moved around a lot, and over that time, I learned how to do analytics, and that's what got me into it. I pretty much work with people all over the place, pretty much through a laptop, and it's actually a lot of fun to do this because for the first time, I don't have to look at data. I can look at Jim Beam. So
Jim Beam.
What can I say?
Hey man, well we are. I'm sure I speak for everybody when I tell you that we are honored, man, that you would think enough to come on and join us and hang out with us, man. And Mel looks like he has something on the tip of his tongue.
I was also going to say, I'm sure I speak for all of us. Well, at least me, Robert, and Sean, when I say I'm sorry. Because you said
my condolences that Glenn is your friend.
You're Glenn's friend. So I'm sorry.
Yeah. You let us know if you need a hug or something. We'll make our way to you.
Yeah, we'll do a group hug or something.
You know, there's benefits to being my friends. You guys wouldn't know that because you're not. But there are
benefits is that we get to meet people like Pierre. But other than that,
most of the people watching are
the
my
newest
friends.
cast member of Live from the Cave. Why don't you introduce yourself to the good people watching and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Awesome. I'm Robert Hazard. I have a company called the Hazard Group, which consults with small businesses, helping them with innovation and automation. I have 2 beautiful children, Rachel and Brian, as well as 4 grandchildren. And many of you, if you follow my posts, you've probably seen my adoring granddaughter, Miami, out of Atlanta. So I am happy to be here with you guys and kick it up and just talk some good stuff. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you were still out of town. I know you're in Atlanta visiting family.
No, I came back and I am in 55-degree weather here in Chicago on a Saturday.
Are you still a lover of life though? Because I didn't hear that just now.
Are you
still a lover of life?
Man, I am such a lover of life. I can't
just
stand
checking.
it. Yeah, I can't stand it. But thanks
Just
for
checking,
asking.
bro.
Mel, since you're a little bit live right now, tell the good people who you are and what you
live,
do.
Bro.
Well, I mean, you were engaging Mr. Hazard, so I didn't have to come get you. You were already right there. Is that Bundaberg ginger beer you drinking? What was that?
Yeah, that is Bundaberg. Look at you.
It's my favorite, baby. That's in here with a little bourbon. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Hey man, their spiced ginger beer during the holidays is amazing, but it's seasonal.
No doubt. Yeah, I'm not drinking tonight. I'm filming a TV pilot tomorrow, so I did some day drinking with Glenn earlier. I'm good.
Yeah, I've been drinking all day, so don't hold me accountable for anything I say. But introduce yourself, man.
We never do. That's okay.
That's wise. That's wise.
My name is Mel Roberson. I am the voice of reason for the Man Cave Talk Show that we have done 40 episodes now, I believe, 40 plus episodes. So I'm the voice of reason. I'm the one that pulls it all together generally because my co-stars are so rambunctious at times, with the exception of Robert Hazard. Like Hazard is like my backup, right? You got me and Rob, then you got Glenn and Sean.
Really?
But yeah, I'm an actor. Chicago PD, The Chi, Empire. I'm a 6-time Amazon bestselling author, professional development speaker, been doing that for years. And I am an executive with a company called Legal Shield that I've been with for a while, which this past week was kind of dope because we helped several people get their last will and testament done. And that has been so important during the pandemic. And I actually got a call from one of my clients who unfortunately lost somebody and told me thank you for forcing her to make sure that her parents had her will done, because this process has been so much simpler. since they did have a will in place. So it makes me feel good to say that I actually do things that help people.
That's awesome, man.
And I love to cook and eat.
Those two things go together real well. So
and I work out.
Well, you better if you love to cook and eat. You probably a good thing that you love to work out. Glenn.
Yes. Are you ready for me now?
I'm always ready for you. You look like you're closing something deal or something.
So we've disrespected me a couple of times already, and we're only like 11 minutes into the show. I am Glenn. I hired everybody on this stage. That's all that needs to be said.
I'm pretty sure it changes nothing. It changes nothing. We still come for you every episode.
Where's a mic? Let me drop a mic real quick. So I'm Glenn Murray, M-U-R-R-A-Y, period, like Fred Sanford used to spell it. Anyway, is
there another way to spell Murray? I didn't know.
A co-founder of G Rose Productions, who co-hosts this show, who co-sponsors this show, along with Roger Jackson. Roger may be removed soon if you've been watching his post. We're sure his wife is going to have him declared very soon. So
I feel like
pretty much
his meds or something. I don't know what's going on.
So pretty much me and Keisha Rose will be taking over the show going forward from this week on, because Roger won't be around because he's going to be removed. No, glad to have you here. Glad to have Pierre on, who's part of the best-selling Faith, Failure, Success. So looking forward to him engaging with us, and just so glad that everybody followed us. Please share with your friends and family the show. We really appreciate all the support we've gotten. We've seen our numbers go up over the last few weeks, people just staying on and being engaged. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah, we are particularly humbled by the support we get. And like I said, I'm always finding, people that are watching that I had no idea were watching. I was in a Twitch chat room listening to a DJ about a week ago, and the DJ mentioned the show. You type in the show and mentioned that I was the host of the show, and evidently one of the people watching must have gone to my Twitch profile page and then bounced back in the room and was like, "Oh, you're the dude who hosts the show." So I thought that was cool because clearly he had been watching, to know that. So it's cool, man. It really feels good when people are supporting what you're doing and enjoying what you're doing. So it's a good thing, man. So let's jump into some stuff, man. Pierre, what's your status, man? Are you married, single? What's going on?
I'm single.
You're single, okay. So that means we all are of the same status in regard to that. So what do you consider yourself? You consider yourself a confirmed bachelor, a hardcore bachelor you don't plan on changing? Are you in a holding pattern, kind of waiting to see what happens and letting that dictate what you do? Are you marriage minded? Are you looking for a wife? Because I've seen some people come up on this show. We get some numbers in the DM sometimes. So what do you consider your current stat? Well, let me rephrase that. There's residue after Rob. So whatever is left after the ladies try to get Robert Hazard, then
whatever's left is what you'll get, because Rob's DMs are full.
Yeah. we get Rob's residue. But what do you consider yourself?
I would say probably the second. I actually, although I'll be honest with you, I'd say the second, but with more thinking about not being like what do I really want and how that's changing. Because when I started my business, I've been in this about 12 years. I had thought I had this grand plan in my life when I was younger. It was like, okay, I was going to be married, and then we'll I'll start a business at some point. And I had this grand vision of being in venture capital and all sorts of wild dream. Never quite got to a page with somebody. Most of the people that I wanted to date, to be honest with you, are always in different states. And one of the things I know, Glenn has heard me probably a little bit on this before, but I'll share this with. It's real. Entrepreneurship can be really hard on your relationships because of the time factor. A lot of people think it's about the money. I don't think it really is. Even when you're bootstrapping, I don't think it's necessarily that. I think for me, I don't think I would. I'm 51 now. I'll be 52 in April. I don't think I'd imagine myself being single at 50, but I really I went into this with a lot of weight on me, much more so than I had planned, to be honest with you. And I felt that if somebody had married me when I had started my business, to be honest with you, you would have seen a divorce within 6 months because they would have been dealing with somebody distracted. And my thing is, I don't think you should put a woman through something if you're trying to get through it. At that time, I think for me, this has been it. I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but I know I'm trying to keep it raw too. So, but I think for me, it was more of a. I don't think that for now, for being single, I won't say holding, but I would still. I think there's a part of me that would like to be married. I'm just trying to think.
It was like, which part?
Here, let me ask you this. Did you watch last week?
I did listen last week. I did watch a little bit last week.
Yeah, because there was a really interesting aspect of last week's show where we were talking about, the kind of woman that you want and what she brings to the table. And I don't mean what she brings to the table in terms of her value, but more in terms of her, let's call it a relationship skill set.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about the fact that there are some ladies that are well suited for that role. So while you're thinking that maybe that is too much for a lady to handle, you may be thinking about a woman competing with you in terms of ambition and that kind of thing. And there may be some ladies that, their gift is in that advocate role, in that supportive role. And you know what I'm saying? So I say that to you because they said it to me, you know what I'm saying? And we talked about it last week that, there's room for different kinds of mates. And so the things that you are thinking might rule someone out may be the perfect fit, if you give it that kind of chance,
Yeah. I think I was worried more about being distracted a lot. Like this was, I went into this with a lot of heavy stuff, more so than normal. And I think for me, it was a lot of worry about it. I think now looking back, I could look and say, okay, yeah, this is okay. But at the time, not really. And I think I liked what you guys talked about last week anyway, because I think as you get older, the things that people come to the table, I think that changes for everybody. I think I like the answers I heard from last week, by the way, too. I want to say that. I think as you get older, it changes for you.
Yeah, I think one of the beauties of this show is the fact that we don't always agree and we don't see things the same way. And it gives people some things to pick from, in terms of not only hear some things that they hadn't considered before, but, some different ideologies to pick from and say, well, I think I kind of fall in that bucket. That's kind of more me. Glenn, just because I don't like your attitude this week, I want you to go next. Just because you got a stank attitude this week, I want to know what you consider yourself, Mr. Glenn Murray, M-U-R-R-A-Y.
Period.
Right.
Period on the end. Well, because I brought up the question anyway in the green room, I'll answer it. Yeah. So the question was, what do you consider yourself, a confirmed bachelor in a holding pattern on the sidelines or marriage minded? So I think my journey from confirmed bachelor, because before I was confirmed, like with a capital C and a capital B. But now I think I'm actually marriage minded. I think I've taken that journey from being confirmed bachelor and the holding pattern to marriage minded. I think it's a journey you evolve in mentally, that you look at yourself in a different way. And it's not even with age, because there's some old men in their 50s and 60s that still think they're confirmed bachelors. With all they are is old and can't find a woman. Big difference. And you're not a confirmed bachelor if the AARP is sending you letters and stuff and you think it's cool to date 17 women. That does not make you a confirmed bachelor. Okay, if you're getting AARP mail, if you got a Match profile and an AARP membership, you're not a confirmed bachelor. Those two don't go together. I'm just telling you, I'm being real tonight. It's Keep It Real Saturday night. This episode should be just titled Keep It Real. I blame it on Raj. He's been posting all week, so he got me in a mood.
Yeah. He has disrupted a whole lot of households. This week,
including his own.
The total gent. Give me your take on it. What are you? And I'm not saying this to tease him or anything like that, but I do think that Mel is quite the eligible bachelor. And so I would like to know how you define yourself, because I think it's probably some people that really want to.
I am a confirmed bachelor who happens to be in a holding pattern while he's thinking about marriage.
Really?
That's so Mel.
Politician. He's a politician.
That's what he does when he don't want to answer your question.
Mhm. He gives you all
It's
three
the-
answers
It's
at the same
truth.
time. Way to go,
It's,
Mel.
it's the truth.
And the only reason I won't give you a hard time is one of the things I hate the most is on social media when they give you these things and they say 3, you can only pick 3. You know what? I hate that. Like, why isn't there room for everybody? Why I got to pick something? Why you got to remove somebody? Why you got to give me 5 singers? I can only pick 1. How come I can't have all 5?
Because it makes you think. It makes you think.
I think it just means, they don't think it's room for everybody, Pierre. It's room for everybody. That's what I think.
I mean, I'm definitely marriage minded. I don't want to grow old alone. You know what I mean? Like my parents have been married 47 years, I think, and they've been together longer than that. Like, so I have a great example of relationship and family and sticking it out and all of that other stuff. I mean, to be quite honest, like tomorrow is the 4-year anniversary of losing my son during the pregnancy, right? And the young lady I was with, I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with her, like engagement ring and everything, was ready to propose and all of that other stuff, but it never happened. We ended up breaking up, and I went through my healing process, but that didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth. I still desire to grow old with somebody. It's just a matter of figuring out who that person is that's going to be willing to stick it out too. That's the other thing, right? So we talk about being marriage minded, but shit, like how many people have the ideology that, all right, I'm in this, and if we do this, we got to figure this out until we die. It's too easy to walk away from these days. The level of commitment that people have, even in my generation, is just not the same. So until I find somebody that thinks like me, like, yeah, we're gonna do it, we're gonna figure it out, then I'm good. I'm all right being in a holding pattern because I'm a confirmed bachelor who's thinking about marriage.
Robert, I'm gonna ask you
said
to
all
jump in
that.
there. I actually feel like I can answer for you, Robert,
Because
but
you work out.
I wanna
Because
hear
you
from
work
you.
out. You know what? Let me take a drink, man. I don't even remember what the question is. Matt,
Oh, Lord, it's gonna be one of those nights.
so
What
let
are
me.
you?
So what am I?
Right.
Yes,
What
which
are
one
you?
are you?
Are you a confirmed
I'm a-
bachelor in a holding pattern, marriage minded, or a hybrid of something else, some other kind?
So I'm a lover of life. So what does that tell you, right? You knew that I was going to say something about that, right? So I am a lover of life. I stay there. How are you? So,
Go ahead.
Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah. Pretend she's not here. Go ahead.
That's
kind of throws me off there. It's kind of.
Busted in.
Oh my God!
It's her house, man. Not a whole lot I can do. It's her house.
Yeah.
What is this?
So it's a big house.
there you go. Thank you. There we go. All right.
So
I didn't want to have to be the one to say it.
It was
Yeah.
coming. I knew it was coming. I knew it was
Get
coming.
it, but yeah.
so
So for
So
our
let me-
viewing audience who's watching this right now, the Man Cave Talk Show, we've had 2 women on the show since the inception of the show. Number 1 was Yanni, who this concept was kind of birthed out of us doing a show with her. So she had a VIP pass to come here because she's kind of like the mom of the cave. Not that she's a mom figure to us, because yeah, Yanni sure ain't my mama, boy.
she just she just turned young just the other day, right?
But the other young lady that we had on here was Titani Harris, a good friend of mine, and we were talking about men's mental health, and she has a mental health practice. So we have a hardcore rule about women being in the cave because it's the man cave, and we talk about man stuff. So we get it. Sean is visiting his people and all of that other stuff, but he may be in and out of the show today.
Yes, based on his situation.
Based on his situation. And when that happens, either myself, the voice of reason, Glenn Murray, Robert Hazard, and our special guest Pierre will handle things until things clear up. So where were
Until
we?
he
What
retired.
were we talking about?
Robert was
so
answering.
right
He
now,
was a lover of life.
yeah, I have my AARP card, but I am a lover of life. Sean's out now. Okay. I'm marriage minded. You know, I enjoy being married. I enjoy, leaving a legacy or creating a legacy and leaving something. So I'd have to say that, I'm marriage minded, but I'm single at the moment.
Yeah, and I want to clarify the AARP comment because I don't want all the people over 50 getting mad at me. But if you're like, if you have an AARP card and you're trying to talk to like 17 different women at the same time, you might want to slow down because there's a lot of things that aren't working like you think they used to work. And one is your brain, because you're going to forget some women's names. You're going to forget a lot of things that you did with all these 7 women you're trying to date at the same time. So I'm going to need, you just need to rein it in. You can be on Match. You can be on, more power to you. People have found love on Match and what is it, eHarmony and all those things. I think that's wonderful. But like, what's your focus? That's all I'm saying. At some point, you need to focus. It's kind of like being 50 and still, trying to get 17 degrees and not taking a job because you're paying off the student loans. So you keep going to school so you don't have to pay off the student loans and stuff. At some point, you have
How
to
is that
stop.
that works? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how people do it.
Oh,
Some people are like lifelong students. So you have to just.
Well, I think those are people that just don't want to work. That's a whole nother
Yeah,
show.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah. I just wanted to clear that up. I'm not talking about anybody being on Match and over 50. It's cool.
Plenty of fish or
what? Or Robert knows them all. So whatever Robert's on,
Robert is on.
Yeah, whatever Robert's on, it's cool being there. I'm good with that.
It's funny because I posted something last week, and I really was just having a personal revelation because you're always asking yourself. Well, people are always asking me, and I'm sure they ask you guys the same thing. Why are you single? And I'm talking about how men get a totally different energy when they are single. Women want to challenge them and say you really don't want a relationship and woo 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 and all of that. Like you can't have a list of things that you're really holding on to or looking out for, whatever. But I had to admit to myself that I've had some relationships where I felt like I gave the most vulnerable and frail parts of myself, and they were mishandled. And at the end of the day, I think there is an inherent fear of giving that to somebody again, only to have it be mishandled again. It's kind of like you can't get anything out of it unless you're willing to give all of yourself to it. Yeah. But then you give all of yourself to it, and then somebody mishandles it. And once you've done that a couple of times, it's like anything else. It takes you a little longer to hit the reset button and put yourself in the position to go through that again. And so it was interesting. Most of the people under the post kind of identified with it, and they're like, yeah, I kind of get that. A couple of people were like, no, I have a totally different perspective. That happens. You have to get back up on the bike and ride it, which is all good and fair. But those falls and failures affect everybody differently. So you really can't say what somebody should do in the aftermath of their hurt and disappointment. You can only speak to what your capacity is. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So for me, I don't think I'll ever. It's kind of, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of almost like Mel in the sense that I don't think I'll ever stop wanting that. I still don't know that I'm ever going to try to do it again. You know what I'm saying? Even if I never try to do it again, it doesn't mean that I don't want it. It just means that right now I haven't been presented with a situation that makes me feel it's worth the risk. And I think that if I'm ever presented with something that makes me feel like, okay, if I got to pick myself up off the ground, I'll do it for this. I'll take the chance for this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But everything doesn't represent, the chance to, not when you try to give your all to it. And I think that's something else people miss. When you're not really invested, you're still kind of doing certain things and moving around certain ways, you can try it all day long because you're not really sacrificing much. You're not putting much at risk. But when you're really trying to give yourself to it, then, you got to get off the ground and dust yourself off. And it ain't fun,
Yeah.
Well, just like a divorce. But I mean, it is just like a divorce, Sean. When you've gone through that, like I have, it makes it you're apprehensive about going through the whole process again. So because you're worried about this may not work. But my whole thing about lover of life is really, there's no risk without, there's no reward without a risk, right? So we've got to take those risks, and our days are coming. The perfect woman, or the situation is out there for us. We just got to do it.
I kind of look at it as a thing of, once I've been through a situation, I'm able to assess my next situation a whole lot better. So I don't mind taking the risk, because it's like, man, I've been through something. I learned something from this. Okay, so now it's not going to take me, as many months or whatever to see through her bullshit. Right. And I'm going to be able to be like, all right, I got this lesson. I can bob and weave a little bit better.
And I think the Mel's point, too, it's about, you learn, I think, as you kind of start picking those pieces up, you change as a person. And I think those changes help you to see people a little bit better, see yourself a little bit better, and sometimes recognize when you can actually kind of move forward. It's just something I think as long as you're sort of, even if you know that you're kind of working on yourself a little bit, I think, and even if you realize something and you're kind of like realizing, okay, yeah, this may not be as hard as a problem as what I thought it was. I think even if you got that part right, you're winning a battle, because then you're at least a foot closer to what you want.
Yeah, Sean. But Sean, I get what you're saying, Sean, because the ghosts of mistakes past are strong. And the wounds that don't heal are the ones where you've immersed yourself in that person or that relationship or that situation that it didn't work. And I always say this, I mean, men hurt differently from women, and our hurt lingers for us because we don't necessarily have that internal fortitude where we just kind of turn it off and go right back in and jump right back in the water. So if we truly were in love with somebody or loved somebody or wanted it to work, it hurts for us, and it hurts a little bit longer. And so once you move on to that next person, you're always thinking, and unfortunately, it's true, you're always looking back thinking, okay, whatever happened, what did I do wrong? Yeah, Robert literally looking back. Okay, thank you, Robert, for the physical display of that. But I didn't ask for that. But thank you for that interpretive. It's like having somebody. Okay.
I had playing Love TKO by Teddy Pendergrass.
Looking back over my
Yes, I know. I think I shedded some tears.
I can add one more thing to this too. Also,
come on.
I would say, if you are, and this is if you're doing any sort of entrepreneurship, be very cautious about the people that you date, or if you're in a relationship already and you start a business, be careful. Because I've lost clients who had started business, started to get some traction, and because the business has been a big part of their time, they lose the person. And I know that's part of the game, but some people are the people who may be built for you for being married. And if you're working full time, may not be on board or may not even realize what the commitment is when you get to be an entrepreneur. There's people. I have a friend of mine. I literally am heartbroken because I thought their marriage was going to make it through, and it didn't. I wish I had said more.
I've gotten dismissed from relationships because you work too much.
Yeah,
stupid. She was stupid.
It's usually a period. It's just a period, basically. You figure out, to the entrepreneur's point, you got to figure out when to get that time back, but it's really a balance. And some people cannot, some people who may have been great for you when you were, married and maybe working full time at a corporate job may not be on board with you when you're trying to get that passion and that dream off the ground.
Right.
And that doesn't make them evil. It just means you gotta be aware of when that transition is hurting.
Women. I agree with you, Pierre, on that piece of it, because sometimes we all have the misconception that if we come from a corporate background, we're getting those checks every month. Then we go into a entrepreneur world and we ain't making the same kind of money. The woman's sitting there looking at you saying,
that's because she liked that corporate lifestyle was nice because every 2 weeks there was a direct deposit.
I always tell people you're broke, not broke. You're broke. The silent E is just on layaway. That's all it is. You just have to really reimagine it.
I don't remember who said this. Shout outs to my friend Elaine Brown, who's a first time watcher who just checked in. I don't remember who said this as we were talking, but they were talking about what you learned in that failed relationship, that is still a positive you can take out of it, which is very cool. But the reality is relationships are so layered that I liken it to a golf swing. You know, so you may fix one thing, but as you're fixing one thing, you're breaking something else.
Right.
And so as much as you might learn in that failed relationship, there's still some holes or pockets that need your attention in that next relationship. And you may be ill-equipped to handle those. There was a time when I actually thought I had seen it all. You know what I'm saying? Like I've dated enough and moved enough. You're not going to show me anything that I haven't seen. And faithfully, every situation shows me something I have never seen before.
Oh yeah,
So,
and I think Mel said it. He actually said something good one time. There are no losses. There are lessons, but those lessons are nuanced.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a lesson that you're just going to take and like understand it immediately. It may be a lesson that you'll think about when you're in your next relationship and remember what you did wrong and know how to turn differently or say something.
And that's what I mean about that golf swing.
Yeah,
you know, you get your hands right, and now your feet aren't right.
Yeah,
you get your feet right, and now your feet are now your hips aren't right. You know what I'm saying? It's like okay, you focus on fixing that one area.
I got one with built on with something that Glenn had said. I had there was somebody I was dating that I was young at the time. I was like 24, 25. Stopped dating him. We had dated maybe like for a month or so off and on. And I think it was like maybe a month or two. A friend of mine at work was like, "Hey, Pierre, you look like you're losing weight." And I was like, "Really?" And what I hadn't connected was that I used to cook for this person. And when we broke up, I stopped cooking. And I didn't lose that much weight. It was only like 10 pounds. But sure enough, I got on the scale. It was like, I lost 10 pounds. And it didn't, it goes to what Glenn's saying. I think for men, it's always nuanced. And you just have to really sometimes it's somebody saying something to you. Sometimes it's just, you wake up and realize that this thing that you did with this person is not being done anymore. And you now feel differently about it. And I was glad that person said something. I was like, wow, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if anybody else saw this. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I don't know if anybody else saw this, man. It was something that I wanted to send you guys, and I had such a hectic week. But there was a post I saw last week, and I won't say what Facebook friend of mine posted because I'm almost sure Mel knows this person. But it basically said that women have been taught that it is their children that holds them back career-wise, when in actuality it's Black men. This was specifically geared at Black women. And it was, basically the requirements and needs that your man or husband has for you that stifles your professional career. And I wish I had more of it, particularly to really unpack it. But just on the surface, what do you guys think about the legitimacy of something like that? Then I think I sent it to you, didn't I?
I don't think I got that.
Because I kind of remember what you said about it in retrospect.
I probably cursed, didn't I?
You did. You thought
that's what I thought. Yeah. You thought it was. I forgot it. I tried to forget it. Yeah. Okay. You're right. I remember that one now. Yeah. Yeah. That's something like that is probably what I said.
I'll say from I know I don't want to sound too entrepreneurial here, but I'll say from an entrepreneur standpoint, it can crop up a little bit. Sometimes men compete with women a little bit on entrepreneurship, or they feel like they're competing with income. But I think that's more of an insecure guy, frankly.
Right.
I usually, any woman I've ever come across with as a client, if I see that they're kind of slipping a little bit, or being held back, I try to tell them, hey, look, keep your business going. I had one sister that actually cried on my shoulder because she got into an argument with her guy. Apparently, it was something that it was a weird argument. He was supposed to be her business partner. They were supposed to invest in real estate and get married. So I felt like it was a lot of pressure. I think that triggered it. But for whatever reason, they got into a fight. And literally, when I said hello to her, I was at an incubator. She just went from "Hi Pierre, how you doing?" to tears because of what happened. They had just gotten into the fight the night before, and I just sat down and listened to what she had to say. I said, "Hey, look." And she was almost ready to blame herself. I said, "No, that's not your fault. That's not your fault." Sometimes I think men do compete with women a little bit, but I think it's an insecure man. And this goes to what I was saying earlier. That's why I was saying earlier. You don't know that when you get with people until you start a business and kind of see how people are reacting. I think that tells a lot. It's like you can sit and say somebody's toxic all day, but until you're in the middle of the BS, you don't know.
Yeah, it's almost
Well,
like the insinuation was that you're raising your kids and you have to raise this man along with them and everything. And that's why I thought it was a BS statement. Because if you're in a relationship and you're climbing and you're having to deal with the external pressures of the world, which there are plenty of trying to climb, whether it's the corporate ladder, whether it's the entrepreneurial ladder, whatever you're trying to accomplish in this world, there's going to be obstacles. And if you're coming home to more obstacles, then you're with the wrong person. That's a sign.
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in signs, and an immature man is a sign that you need to leave his immature ass at home or wherever you need to leave him. Wherever you found him, you need to leave him, because if you're fighting with him about you accomplishing something, then that's not a person that's on your team. That's not a person that's on your side.
I also think that's a control tactic too, Glenn.
Yeah.
I've also felt like
it is. Absolutely.
It probably is a control tactic. You mean a control tactic for her, right?
Right.
Yeah,
but that's that's all a sign that you need to not be in that relationship if there's that kind of issue, because it's tough enough to achieve something of substantial of substance in this world. So to be fighting the person that's supposed to be on your side, helping you to achieve it, while fighting the world too,
I think that's inherently the problem that I see with relationships, is that we somehow still see our mates as our adversaries, even when we embrace them in love and commitment. We still somehow see them in an adversarial role sometimes, which I find fascinating. I found a blurb from what I was talking about, and it also made me want to circle back to something that Glenn said. It's a very short snippet. It reads like this: almost a decade ago, the writer Linda Hirschman exhorted ambitious women to marry men with less money or social capital than they had. In articles and her book, Get to Work, she told women that they should avoid ever taking on more than half of the housework or child care. How to do it? Either marry a man who is extremely committed to equality, or do what she says is the easier route and marry down. Hirschman explained in The American Prospect that such a choice is not brutally strategic, it's just smart. If you are devoted to your career goals and would like a man who will support that, you're doing just what men throughout the ages have done, placing a safe bet. It's almost implying that you marry somebody with lesser goals so that your goals can be their focus and they can't create any dissension in your quest.
Yeah. Right. They're just going to stand to the sideline and be happy. Go ahead, Robert.
That takes away the team effort, right? Because I believe that, marriage and relationships is all about a team effort. But I also think that as men, we, and particularly Black men, we have the opportunity now to uplift our women and to be supportive and to be their cheerleaders in roles that they are good at. So whatever that may be, we need to encourage them. If they're trying to get to the C-suite, encourage them to get to the C-suite and keep going. Vice versa, they're going to do the same thing for us. It's all about building legacy and building a foundation that we can be proud of. So
let me ask you a question. Go ahead, Robert. I'm sorry.
Ask me the question. No, go ahead. Ask the question.
This is something, and I don't know how this is going to land or come off, so I apologize if I offend anybody in asking the question. But I personally have, unless it's the wife's goal or ambition, I've oftentimes seen a man's desire to work and make his wife a housewife a control tactic.
Yeah.
If that's her goal, and that's her life's blood, is taking care of the home and staying home and taking care of the children, yada yada yada, that's a totally different thing. But if he says, I make enough money, all you got to do is stay at home, to me that sounds like a control tactic.
It's also about lifestyle too.
So let me
come on, Mel. Hold on, Rob. Mel has been quiet for a while. Why don't you come behind Mel?
I hear you, and I think for some men that can be the case. I am a product of that, though. So I grew up in the inner city of Chicago, and my dad did not want his boys to be latchkey kids. So him and my mom had a conversation, and he said, I'll take care of the money. Now, it wasn't my mom's goal to be a housewife. It wasn't her goal. But my mom was like, you know what? For our family, if you're going to take care of the finances, then yes, I'll stay home. I'll make sure the boys are taken care of, so forth and so on. And my dad busted hump, sent us to private school. until my brother ended up going to Beasley and Whitney Young. But I stayed in private school, went to a private high school, partially because my mom wouldn't let me go to Whitney Young because there were women there. That's a whole nother show. Whole nother show. That's how I ended up at Leo, guys. But yeah, so it wasn't a control tactic for my dad. It was a thing of, look, this is where we are in life, and it would be safer for my boys if you would do this, for our boys, not my boys. And my mom was like, you know what? And I mean, she had goals and ambition. She was moving her way up the ladder at the Chicago Sun-Times where she was working at the time and all of that stuff. But she's like, okay, I'll do it. And I asked her, does she regret it? She was like, no, I was still able to do some entrepreneurial stuff here and there. And there is nothing like the joy of being with you guys, because I was able to do so much more stuff with you all than I would have been able to do had I been working all the time like your father, just to make sure we had that type of deal. So I hear you, Sean, where that can be a case if that's the guy's way of thinking. But in some cases, sometimes they just want to be a provider, and have their family. And if it's okay with the woman, I don't think that's a problem. Now, if he's like, I make enough money, you ain't got to work, and she's like, but I still want to, and he was like, well, no, you can't, then yes, that's a control mechanism. But I don't always think that mindset of being a provider is necessarily a control mechanism.
Rob, before I hear from you,
lifestyle you want to have.
Right, Rob, before I hear from you, there's never a universal affirmative. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about subjects like that, there's always going to be the exception. But I'm saying in general, that's the way it feels to me. I'm certainly aware of situations like Mel's home situation. But in my mind, when I hear it most of the time, that's kind of and I've also seen it play out that way. But Rob, what were you gonna share about? We got about 8 minutes left, guys. Just so you know.
Okay. So in 2 minutes, I mean, it's the same thing. My parents came from, my dad worked, he took care of the family. My mother stayed at home so that she could, receive us when we came home from school and things like that. So my mentality is, if I can make enough money to take care of my spouse and my kids, all those things, I want to do that because there's some long-term benefits from that. And it just draws the whole family. Plus, I don't want her to be out in the world today where she's, being bombarded because she's beautiful and all the brothers are trying to hit on her, all that kind of stuff. That's in the show. I'm sorry. But, that's the point that I'm talking about. Okay? That's the point.
Yeah, why don't you jump in here? Why don't you jump in here before Glenn, since we're getting down on time?
Yeah, I think it's about to Mel's point. I like what Mel brought up a little bit too. I like what both you and Mel said in some ways too, because I think it depends on lifestyle, and it depends on what you really want. It's loving somebody is one thing. The lifestyle, the way that you arrange that life is something totally different. If you two can be on the same page, cool. If you're not on the same page, that's a problem, and it becomes a problem that grows, unfortunately. So. Yeah, that's the only way to look at it.
Glenn, what are you thinking? You're pondering posture there.
Oh no, so I've always been around strong women that work. So my mother worked corporate America, IBM. My stepmother has always worked. So I've always seen that dynamic, the power couple. So I think subconsciously that's what I've always wanted. But I'm also of the mindset that if you're my wife, I want you to be all you can be and do whatever you want to do that will make you happy. And I will work hard to support that.
Yeah.
If that means staying at home, that's great, but I probably won't pick somebody that wants to stay at home, to be realistic about it. I'm going to pick somebody that has as much ambition and drive and energy as I do. That's always been the first choice for me. That's not to say I wouldn't dismiss somebody that didn't, but it's just kind of been a preference for me.
As with most things, I often feel like it comes down to a very transparent conversation so that everybody knows where everybody is and what their feelings are. And that way nothing gets misinterpreted. You can't look up 5 years down the line and say, well, I thought this, because I've seen people start marriage and their outlook on parenting is different. And I'm like, how did you get here? Like, how did you actually walk down an aisle not clear on, what your mate wanted to do in regard to building a family? Like, I don't understand how you even do that. You know what I'm saying? So I think most things just come down to a transparent conversation. And I think it's much like sales jobs. A lot of times people don't want to take the no's. They don't want to have the hard conversations. But like we talk about on here all the time, hard conversations are vital. They're what you need because they save your time. You know, they make sure you don't waste your time, and they make sure that you don't waste anybody else's time, which is why I believe in being 100% transparent, you know, out the gate. I want to give you the stuff that might run you away. I want to give you that early.
I want to know you're crazy. I want to know you're crazy.
So we're not 6 months down the line, and then you find out I got, you know, I don't take my meds regularly, and you know.
Right. Let's
you got to
tick that crazy right now as we're exploring each other, so that we know. Because if I can deal with that crazy, or you can deal with my crazy, we're good. But let's have.
And we all got some crazy, whether we want to admit it or not. We all got some degree of crazy. It might.
Yeah, but you know what? You get older, you learn how to suss that out.
I ain't admitting it right now, but
you ain't admitting it, A-Rob. People that are in denial about it usually got the most of it.
I'm pretty stable myself. I don't think I got any crazy. Honestly, I don't think I have any crazy.
Second in line, Glenn, are the people who claim they so super stable. They right behind the
Really?
Hey, I've been in counseling, so I kind of identify with my crazy. I kind of know what's happening.
I'm an Aries.
I'm not ashamed to say.
Aries
hey, look here. I'm not ashamed to say I'm a little height deficient. You know, I come in at about 5'7", you know, and a half. I usually claim my half real proud.
That's not a condition, Sean.
Very proud.
Is that a condition, Sean? That's not a condition. That is not a condition. No,
it's not. 5'10".
Your height is not a condition, Sean.
I'm going somewhere else with this. I'm going somewhere else.
Let me hear it, because you know we were about to catch you.
Yeah, I'm going somewhere.
3 minutes, guys. 3 minutes.
I wanted to explain the shot that Raj just took at me about my chair, because that's all right. That's all right.
I didn't see that. I didn't see it.
I am sitting on several items of clothing to give myself some height in this low seated chair, and I'm not ashamed of that. I just want the world to know that I'm very comfortable at 5'7" with some deficiencies when it comes to sitting in chairs that are low like this. So now, Raj, there you go. I win.
On that note, we have 3 minutes, gentlemen. Final thoughts, please, as Raj just took it out.
That was so mean, man. That was so mean. Hey, look, man, before we get out of here, man, anything else you guys want to share with the audience? Pierre, man, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us, man.
I want to give a toast also. I found out this may be a little bit of a downer. My uncle Uzine had passed away. He was a Tuskegee Airman, 98 years old. I want to give a toast out to him and all the Black Tuskegee Airmen who've made a difference not only for Black people but also for within this country. So just want to give a toast out to him as well, and then also I want to give one more toast also to Lenona Sykes, who was also a mentor to me when I was in Huntsville, Alabama. I found out she had passed away earlier this month as well too. So
yeah. Prayers to their families. Go ahead, man.
Prayers to their families.
Now, I got a great uncle who's Colonel Lloyd McKeithen, who's still one of the living Tuskegee Airmen. So cheers to your family.
Cool.
Yeah. Close us out, Sean.
Enjoyed you guys, man. It's always a great time in the cave. Pierre, hang out, don't leave. And hopefully you guys enjoyed our banter on this evening. Next week I'll be back in lovely snowy Chicago. And maybe next week Mel will have a list for us to do, and we'll have a good time, man. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week right here in the cave.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Camped out at home for COVID? Join us, Indie TV, where you will see the talk shows, movies, drama, action, and comedy. Be the first and see it first. Sign up now for free at Indie TV.